landscape in Barbados. Like when colorism exists more in circles that there's less education, as opposed to in circles where people are more educated and more knowledgeable. I think that knowledge of other people and knowledge of other cultures really helps to undo some of the damage that's done by colorism and racism, and it helps us to see that we're all the same. And contact with other people and contacts with other cultures and just giving voice and giving an ear to people who are not usually listened to. So Barbados is always full of tourists, and we come into contact with people from many, many different cultures. So I think what's different too is that in the US, if you don't travel, if you don't get out of the US, it's very possible that you will not meet certain people, especially if you live in the South. It's different in like a metropolitan city like maybe New York or whatever, where you can find people from many different cultures. But there's something about leaving your comfort zone and going out maybe into someone else's culture where you're the minority or whatever that I think adds perspective. So in Barbados, for us, it was the fact that unlike some of the other Caribbean islands, we were not that kind of isolated technologically and in terms of the people, the mass influx of people that would come to Barbados and we would be in contact with. Really broadened our perspective, I think, and helped us to overcome various forms of discrimination. But yeah, education is important, just letting people know that there's a different way and that you don't just have to continue because it's tradition, you don't have to do it the same way, or because your parents did it, you don't have to do it the same way, or even because the Bible says it, it doesn't mean that you have to do it that same way, you know. And I think that we need to have the lives of the people around us and see that as our Bible too, and not just the lives of people who lived thousands of years ago. And I think that there are examples of people who are alive now that we can learn from. There are examples of people who were alive 50 years ago that we can learn from, much in the same way that we can learn from the lives of Peter and the apostles, and you know what I mean? And I think that what religion does, I know we're back on religion, but religion kind of makes things like that, like those kinds of examples seem like something that's beyond us, seem like something that we can't aspire to. And you know, people say things like, oh, miracles happen today and all of that, so why aren't they added to some book where future generations can say, hey, look at this miracle that happened in 2017, and future generations will still be looking at the miracles that happened when Jesus turned water into wine, as opposed to some of the miracles that are happening today. You know, so maybe this is off topic or whatever, but we need to do things like this, add to our oral history and add to our Bible and learn from our ancestors, our direct ancestors as well, not just the biblical, many ages ago ones.
You mentioned you had 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you tell your kids about race in America and how to handle if they've had any experiences with racism or discrimination, any type of macro or microaggressions that they've told you about?
Yeah, it's weird. I guess I can talk to racism more from their perspective than from mine, because my kids go to schools where they're the minorities, so they go to schools that are predominantly white, and well, the ones that live here. My oldest is here, and my 2 youngest are here. I have my two of my daughters live in Barbados with their mom as well. And they visit often, like every summer, every winter they're here with me. But the ones that live here, they have a number of issues to deal with. One is that they're the only, or one of the very few children of color in their class and in their school, and also they are they're children of immigrants, which is a thing as well. They ask me questions like, am I a real American, What is that? My friends say that I'm not a real American because my parents aren't American. So they have those kind of issues to deal with. And I really try to get them to embrace being a person. And so that's where we start. We start like, everyone is a human being. And that's where we all are equal. And that's where everything starts. Where you're born and what color your skin is and all of that is really are things that are beyond your control. But what is in your control is how you see yourself and how you treat other people. And I try to start with just humanity. And also, I try to get them to embrace their Barbadian heritage and see themselves as Barbadians, but also see themselves as Americans and know that that's okay. Because as Black people, we kind of tend to let go of the African part of our heritage. We all have African heritage, right? We're all African. In the same way that an Asian person, even if they're 3 generations in America, they're still an Asian person. You know what I mean? You look at them and they see themselves as still being Chinese, for example. But I look at you like, I either call you African American or American, but you're African, You are African American as well, but you are also African. In the same way that a Chinese person who is 3 generations in is still Chinese. And that's a part of who they are. They're Chinese American, but they're still Chinese or still Asian or whatever. So I try to get her to see, especially my daughter who is 6 years old and really getting to an age where she's aware of being different and that kind of thing. Like, yeah, you're completely American, but you're also completely a Barbadian, because that's your heritage. You're completely an African. That's who you are, and and that doesn't change if you're born in a different place. If my wife had flown to Czechoslovakia the day before my daughter was born, that would not make her a Czech, would it? You know what I mean? Even if she got Czechoslovakian citizenship, she would still be an African. So that's what I try to teach them. She would still be a Barbadian. Yeah.
When your youngest approach you with questions like that, like, am I a real American, or my friend said this or said that, and of course you don't have to answer if it makes you uncomfortable, but what initial emotion do you typically feel or experience when they ask you questions like that? Are you angry? Are you disappointed?
I kind of feel initially a small amount of regret that you were born in the US. But just initially, I guess, because it complicates the situation. Obviously, it would be a lot simpler if your parents were born in the same place that you were, But it's just initially, and because I already know their character, and I know the examples that I give them, it doesn't worry me so much. I see it as an opportunity for them to, these kids who say that, they just don't know any better, really. So let me teach you, so maybe you can teach them, and maybe you can make the difference. They don't understand. They're not bad people, or they're not saying it because they're bad people. They just don't understand. And that's, I see it as an opportunity for them to be leaders, and an opportunity for them to really help others within the circles that they're in.
Is there any Barbadian community or neighborhood in New York that you guys are connected with, or that help you uphold that Barbadian heritage?
Definitely. I mean, there's a strong Caribbean community in general. I mean, and all Caribbean people see themselves as, we're Caribbean people. There's something we share. But even before that, just just being black makes me a part of a community that is meaningful, you know what I mean? And just, especially now that being aware of your African roots is more and more so a cool thing, and it's a good thing. It's easy for people for people of color, for black people to identify on the African thing, you know, to connect on, yeah, we know we're both coming from the same place. But yeah, there's a Caribbean community, and then there is a Bajan community, Barbadian, Bajan, same thing. Yeah, so there's a Bajan community that's very, very strong. Like when I moved to the block that I live on in Brooklyn, there were already people from Barbados on that block. So you don't have to go far to find people who you can identify with and who understand what you're going through, and that makes a huge, huge difference. So like in my house we play radio from Barbados, and you can do things like this now with the internet, you know what I mean? I wake up in the morning, I put on a Barbados radio station, so we hear the news in Barbados, they hear people talking with a Barbadian accent, they know what's happening in the community, you know what I mean? So it really removes some of the distance and the separation. Yeah, things like that, just being involved in the Barbados community. I do performances at the Barbados Consulate, for example. If they had a function, they would call me and ask me to do like a Barbados folk song, just me and my guitar or whatever. So just staying connected and making sure that my kids are a part of that as well. I think it's a great opportunity to be born in the US, but to have this whole other heritage along with you know, the importance and greatness of being born in the US. I think it's such an advantage that they have. And it's, being bilingual is a great advantage as well. And even though the language of Barbados is English, we also have like a dialect that we speak in Barbados. And it's almost like another language, even though it's based on English. And I try to, you know, teach them that and make sure that they understand. And I think that, like someone was saying in the session earlier, being able to think in another language or in other words really broadens your perspective as well. Even if it's slang, you know, even if it's slang words or broken English or whatever, it really broadens your perspective if you know another word for this, or another word for this concept, or you know. So I just try to look at the positives and accentuate the positives as much as I can.
Well, we'll bring this interview to a close. But before we officially end, is there anything to your story that you'd like to add, that you'd like to say to anyone who may be coming from another country into the States and maybe in a similar predicament as yourself, or someone just struggling with the injustice of racism or colorism?
Just be thankful for whatever situation you're in, no matter how hard or difficult or unfair it might seem, you know. Something that I always say is that things could always be worse. They could always be worse, even though it doesn't seem that way. But we have to start with gratitude. We have to start with being thankful for being alive, thankful for the work that our ancestors have done, thankful for having the opportunity to do something different. So let me just say thanks for this opportunity to be able to record this. And if you're watching this 100 years from now, it was really cool being alive in 2018. It's a really important time. I hope we didn't mess up the world too much for you. We're trying this environmental protection thing and trying to do recycling and all of that, and it's not really impacting us now. But I know that it impacted your world, and I hope that we did an okay job trying to start protecting the environment more than we have been doing in like the 60s and 70s and that kind of thing, just dumping things. So yeah, just continue to protect the earth for people who live 100 years after you, and continue recording oral histories like this in whatever newfangled technology you have that you can just and just, you know, but whatever you do, just continue to preserve things like this, and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that we love you. Whatever you do, just continue to and just know that